Gurudev, everyone. Have you ever met someone who is incredibly accomplished? When I say incredibly, I mean it. Someone who has achieved so much in life. Yet, you would never know it from the way they speak, behave, or treat others. They don't carry their titles in their attitude. They don't lead with their achievements. They show up simply as a very kind and grounded human being. I have been fortunate to meet personalities like that. And today's guest is exactly one of them. He is someone I deeply admire and look up to, someone who never once makes you feel less, only seen, encouraged, and empowered. She's so down to earth, polite, that it feels as though she leaves all her titles somewhere under the ground. She will bury it as soon as she enters any room. She is truly one of New Zealand's gems. I am from New Zealand as well, by the way. I'm Reena from New Zealand. And yes, I often tease her, especially in the past few days. I call her a New Zealand celebrity. I tease her, but I actually genuinely mean it because the work she has done and the work she's currently doing is, I would say, even more than a celebrity. Even though you will never see it reflected in her behavior, without taking too much time, I feel it's both a joy and a privilege, not just to host today's podcast, but to introduce her briefly before we dive in. Today, we'll listen to her journey, how she navigated life in a foreign country, faced challenges across many layers in New Zealand, and how, through the guidance of Gurudev's knowledge, her path transformed. Our theme today is how the restlessness got transformed to success and achievements. Now, I will very quickly do a formal introduction. Sorry. Meena Satishkumar. She's a dedicated senior Art of Living faculty member whose wisdom, commitment, and service have enriched the community for over 15 years. Meena has guided countless individuals through yoga, knowledge sessions, and advanced art of living programs, helping people reconnect with themselves and deepen their inner practices. Her calm presence and clarity makes her teachings both grounding and transformative. And I had the privilege to experience a beautiful silence program just a couple of weeks ago. It was truly transformative. Thank you, Meena. Beyond her spiritual contributions, Meena is also a senior technology consultant and the founder of Tech Beyond Gender. That is a research led platform that amplifies women and gender diverse voices across New Zealand's technology sector. A sought after keynote speaker herself, hence, I'm a little nervous today, more than normal. Her work has been featured nationally and continues to inspire meaningful, practical change in workplace culture and leadership. Adding yet another dimension to her multifaceted journey, Meena is also a Jyotisha researcher and associate consultant, where she explores the application of ancient Vedic wisdom with a research oriented approach to support personal and professional growth. Thank you, Meena, once again for joining. I am nervous, but I'm so excited to have you today. So I welcome Meena ji, Jai Gurudev. Please tell us a little bit about your childhood, how the art of living journey began, and how your life transformed. Over to you.
Reena, that was a very, very long intro. I actually thought you were introducing someone else because,
No,
like,
you
especially
deserve
I was
it.
so nervous that I was so nervous you would reveal my age, saying,
Oh,
oh my God, she's accomplished so many things in her life. It was like, oh my God, what is the point in me coloring my hair if you're going to reveal my age? Yeah.
you look 20
Hey,
years old.
so sorry?
You look 20 years old. I don't need to tell
Oh,
anyone. It shows in your glow.
awesome. Oh, great. Great, great, great. So thanks for the intro. And Reena, thank you so much for inviting me to this podcast. I'm so happy to be here to share my journey. And
Pleasure.
I really appreciate everyone who's logged in this evening as well. It was such a short notice, but still, you made an attempt to be here to listen to my story. So I really, really appreciate it. So if you want to start my whole story, I can do it, but then someone needs to interrupt me because I can just talk a
Yeah,
lot.
don't worry. I'm an
Um,
expert in that. I'm sure you know. Yeah.
yeah, cool. So I was born in New Zealand, but I grew up in India. So I come from this family where, uh, like a little bit more Orthodox Indian family, where they sort of really believed that a girl needs to behave in a specific way. Like a girl needs to sit this way, speak this way, you can't laugh loudly, you can't do this, and all that stuff. So I grew up in an environment with all these restrictions. And I felt so restricted, so stifled. I didn't feel my normal self at all in any way. And following that, it was just so that on top of it, there were several challenges in our household as well. My mom was going through a lot personally in her life, which really had a huge impact on me. And now that I know Jyotish, I clearly understand and see why I was that sensitive. Because I have Moon in Lagna, and I'm normally a very sensitive being, and especially when you see your mother go through difficulty, it can have a huge impact, right, as a teenager. So that had a huge, massive impact on me. Like, even at the age of 16, 17, I felt like I had a load on my shoulders. I was just not my normal self at all. And at that time, I decided, okay, I really need to go somewhere else. Like, I want to go somewhere and pursue my education. This is not going to work, right? It was like I was in such a stage where I couldn't think clearly. And I was, I think, probably in a state of depression where I would sleep for really long hours at a stretch, like because there were too many thoughts in my mind. And then that was a time when I decided to return back to New Zealand as a student. So even when I returned back to New Zealand, I still feel that I just had a mask on my face. I was really not my normal self at all. But that's when I realized that it doesn't matter where you go, right? The environment might change, but you're still carrying your mind with you, which means there is no escape from the thoughts, there is no escapes from what you are holding on to. And I didn't know how to let go of anything at all. So the life journey continued that way. And even when I was in New Zealand in university, I used to talk to my mom, and that would really, really have a huge impact on me. And I think it was about a couple of years down the line, soon after my university, my uncle, who really knew what I was going through back in India, sent me a message saying, "Hey, Meena, I think you should do this Art of Living program. This is amazing. Why don't you do this program?" Right?
How old were you,
I
Meena?
went
Sorry, I
at
interrupted
that,
you. How old were
yeah,
you?
so at that age I was 23,
23.
22, 23. Yeah,
Okay.
so he sent a message to me saying, "Meena, you should do this program. This is absolutely amazing program. Just go register yourself and do this program." And I went and checked the website, and it was like Sri Ravi Shankar. And I was like, gosh, I'm not doing this. It sounds like a cult. Why has he got the title Sri? Why not just Sri? I had all these dialogues in my mind, and I said, nah, this is not me. I'm not going to do this program. And but meanwhile, before I made the decision to, I contacted the teacher who was taking the program. There was only one teacher in New Zealand who would travel all around the country to take these programs.
Wow.
And I spoke to her as well. And she was so friendly. She was like, she was taking a program in Tauranga at the time. I was in Wellington. She said, why don't you come to Tauranga? I will organize accommodation. You can stay with me at my friend's place and you can do the course. And in those days, it used to be a 6 day program, like six
Oh,
evenings
wow.
and two, like including 2 weekends.
Do you mean happiness
And
program? The basic course used to be six
yeah,
days long. Wow.
yeah, 6 days
Wow.
long at that time. So
Mm-hmm.
it would start on a Tuesday, so Tuesday to Friday in the evenings, and Saturday, Sunday, the whole full days. And I just thought it was being very dodgy. I was like, the website sounded a bit dodgy. And who is this woman? I don't even know her. Why is she being so friendly with me? I thought, no, this doesn't sound right. I'm not going to do this program. And then she kept like following up with me. Hey, I'm taking a course in this city. I'm taking a course in this city. Do you want to come? Do you want to come? It was like she kept chasing me for about 6 months, and I used to get emails from my uncle as well from Middle East. He had moved to Middle East by then, saying, "Hey, are you not doing this program?" I was like, "Oh, let me think about it. Let me think. I'll see how whether I want to do it." And then what happened was that teacher came to Wellington, where I was living at that time, to take a program. So, since she was coming to Wellington, she called me and said, why don't you come? You just turn up on the day, it's fine, and then you register for the program and pay for the course. And I was in two minds. So, do I try? Do I not try? And I remember very well, I was having lunch with a friend of mine the day the course was starting. And I had not made up my mind until then. And I told this friend, hey, there is this art of living, and they apparently teach these breathing exercises. What do you think about them? Do you think I should do it? He was just very casual. He was like, oh, have you never done this? I've done this in Sri Lanka. Back in school, they used to teach us all these breathing exercises. What's the big deal? Why are you thinking too much about it? I was like, oh, is that all it is? Oh, let me try as well. He was like, yeah, you should try. It's not a big deal at all, and it's good. It's good for you. You have like several health benefits. But he had not done art of living at that point in time. So I was like, okay, let me do it. On my first day, I hadn't registered, I hadn't paid for the course. I just turned up on day one. Even then, I was a little bit skeptical in my mind. There were there was one teacher and an assistant teacher and 7 other women. So the whole course was just women in
Wow.
that course. And I went, sat there, and then the breathing exercises began. And at the end of it, I really noticed a huge difference. The mind was just so much more calmer, so much more centered. And we don't do that long Kriya until I think day 2 or day 3 is when we would do the long Kriya because it was a 6 day long program.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so we didn't do the Kriya until like a couple of days later. But first day, I noticed a huge difference. And I was like, I went back. I was like, okay, this is amazing. I am going to do this, continue with this program. And the next day, I completed the registration form, paid for the course, and then I continued. And wow, that long Kriya, the first long Kriya I did, the experience was just totally amazing. And especially the next day morning is when I noticed the impact of it. I remember waking up, everything felt very quiet because my mind was very quiet. And I went and I was brushing my teeth, and I felt I was only brushing my teeth. And I
Wow.
opened the fridge, and I felt I was just opening the fridge only. It just felt I was so present. I was so
Yeah.
there. Right, that
Wow.
morning when I was going to work, I felt like I could see the green much more brighter, and I would walk around the waterfront. If you were in Wellington, you would know we
Yes,
used to
yes.
walk around. waterfront for work, and I could just hear the light waves splashing around the rocks. So everything felt like so different and so fresh, so new. That's when I thought, okay, wow, there is something in this. I'm going to complete this course. And then I did my course, and wow, that was just the turning point. Serena, I'll give you a chance as a host to ask me more questions. Otherwise, I'll continue
Yeah, no, I
talking.
was going to interrupt you. Firstly, I was very curious to know who was the teacher. Was it Rashmi? I just wanted to know who was the teacher,
No,
if that is okay to share, just
you wouldn't
back then.
know her. She's no longer involved with Art of Living
Okay.
because her path has changed and stuff.
Okay.
Similarly, yeah.
Right, right. Beautiful. And one more thing, what I want to know, the reason I asked your age back then, it is because currently you talked about how as soon as you opened the website and as soon as you heard, or sorry, as soon as you saw the word Shri Shri, that cult feeling, it's very hard when
Mhm.
you are quite young to not let that go into your brain because we think more about, especially when we're young, what others will think about us. So what was that path breaking moment where you didn't think about this baba culture and all of that, what my friends would say if I go to something like this? What was the, like, how did you break that barrier? And I want you to share with our listeners, because we would have some young listeners as well, that yeah, just give it a shot, you know what I mean? Because yeah.
Yeah, I feel things are different these days. I feel there was no social media at that time,
True.
right? And even when I initially started teaching courses in 2008 in Wellington, things were very different. They were very like there were, I think there was one other yoga school or something. And then when I would have yoga classes, there would be so many people coming because there were not many options those days.
Right.
But I feel these days, people are more open to yoga. People are more open
Yes,
to meditation. Like how, we have the World
I agree.
Meditation Day. We have International Yoga Day as well. So
For
all of
sure.
this is just more, people are more accepting of the fact. People have
Mm,
gone through stress and they are at the stage where they are like, materially, I've got everything. Now what's next? What else
true.
can I do?
I was
So I
gonna,
feel,
sorry.
sorry, go ahead.
What I was gonna say is that yes, people have become more accepting, considering the fact that it's such a shame that mental health is getting worse and worse day by day. Like pretty much,
Mhm.
I think in my last session, according to World Health Organization, 1 in 6 people is depressed. So it's quite a high number. So
Mhm.
despite people being more accepting, I think it's still a taboo, especially if I talk about male here. It's still a taboo that you don't talk about things, or you don't want to try this. So what I want to get into, it's just like I also personally have friends, really close people in my life.
Mhm.
Um, I wouldn't say they don't support me, but they would let me do what I
Mhm.
want to do, but they still have this thing in their mind. Oh, I don't believe in this Baba. I believe
Mhm.
in my own religion. So I want this opportunity where you can share with those sort of young people and people in general, to be honest, of any age, that is nothing to do
Yeah.
with religion or Baba or anything like that. It's all scientifically researched, and yeah, it can do wonders to their life. Wonders to their life, not
Yeah.
just mentally, in lots of other ways as well. So that Baba culture, that cult thing is what I want to get from you. How do you think? Yeah, yeah.
You have just answered your own question, right?
Have I?
So, yeah, because as you said, like the whole thing, the whole culture is just, it's about meditation, right? At the end of the day, it's all about breathing exercises and meditation. Everything else is secondary. It doesn't matter whether you feel the connection or not. That is all completely secondary. But as you know, we have a dedicated website, right? AOLresearch.org. And that's like
Yes.
independent studies which have been done around Sudarshan Kriya practices about the power of meditation and everything. So those like you can if it is like scientifically driven practices, you go with evidence, nothing can beat, right?
True.
Unless you try, you would never
Exactly.
know. And especially now, these days, like even if you know, right, like with Gurudev meditations, there's a separate YouTube channel, and Sri Ravi
Yes.
Shankar meditation. You type, that's a separate YouTube channel of filled with
Mhm.
meditations. Just giving it a try, then you would want to explore more, right? And it's not
Exactly.
just about meditation, like with just about breathing exercises. In Art of Living, we have the Sahat Samadhi meditation where you get initiated with a mantra, and that is so powerful, right? We have experienced it. Just a simple vibration can make a huge difference.
For
So I
sure.
think the cult and everything is secondary, but going by evidence is the best.
Yeah, true. So are you saying this is how I put it? Okay, whenever I talk to my friends or strangers, where I know it's a bit hard, because it's not about convincing, it's about promoting how it can meditation can help them basically, So how I put it is it's like treat it as an adventure. You take medication, why don't you treat this as a medication and just yeah, try it. It's just like an experiment, isn't it? Yeah, that's how
Yeah.
I think. But thank you for sharing your thoughts. Coming back to your journey, Meena. So you did that 6 days happiness course. What happened after? Tell us, like how your life was in New Zealand, work life, how it changed. That one course, what happened after? How it transformed, and yeah, please carry on.
Yeah, a lot changed for me that one course. So, as I mentioned to you, there were lots going on in my family as well, and I had completely stopped talking to my dad until just before that, a few years before that, before doing the course. So, that course literally triggered something in me. At the end of the course, I called my dad and I
Wow,
spoke to my dad.
that's a big
And
shift.
yeah, there
Wow,
was a huge shift. There was a huge shift. My mom was also very surprised with that. But they still don't particularly appreciate my involvement with the art of living, but they are more in acceptance of it. But they did see a huge difference in me. And there were little things like just being able to, like, like how I mentioned at the start, right? You're brushing your teeth and you're there and you are doing things and you're totally there. That was the biggest shift in my life. And then after that, what happened was for the first time in my life, I took a non-academic book and read the
Mhm.
whole book without, like, with being completely involved in it. And there was Bhagavad Gita. That was the first book that I've
Wow,
ever read. It was after the thing course. Like I felt like everything that was written there made sense. And it was just truly experiential for me. So it just felt like another completely new dimension sort of opened up for me at
right.
that time.
Sorry, Meena,
And
can I interrupt? Can I interrupt? I just wanted to also say there. So during your childhood and when you were young, teenager, and before the course, were you quite spiritual? How involved? Like, yeah, how were you spiritually? Let's because you said something really profound that the first book was Bhagavad Gita, and reading that fully, it's quite a hard book. I don't know if you can see, I have it right there behind as well, but it's quite a hard one to read it. Like, it's quite hard. So I want to know, like, how were you already like quite spiritual, or were you? Yeah, just tell us a bit more. How did that transformation happen?
no, I was not, I didn't grow up in a spiritual family at all. None of us in our family ever had a guru. None of us in our family ever meditated, no yoga, nothing. They
Wow.
followed some rituals, I would say, but not even the rituals were very limited. Because my father was more like, oh, I don't believe in this and that. So no one really, so I didn't grow up in an environment where we were reading Bhagavad Gita or were listening to bhajans or Nothing of that sort at all. Completely different environment. So when some people say, "Oh, you grew up in India, so you would know Mahabharata and everything," I'd be like, "No, I didn't grow up listening to those stories at all."
I can
Right?
relate to
So
that. I can relate to that. I am exactly the same. But suddenly that shift has happened that I have Bhagavad Gita in my
but
home as well.
there was one thing though.
Yeah.
I would love to sit on my own and contemplate. So we were
Okay.
living in an apartment, and I would go to the balcony every now and then when I wanted some space because the house was like in such intense stress that you could
Okay.
actually take that and cut it into pieces. It would be
Wow.
like that. And at
Was it
that
a
at
joint
that
family?
times,
Meena, was it a
not
joint family?
really.
Did you have,
Yeah, yeah. My
okay.
dad's mom was living with us, but it wasn't a big family. It was me, my older sister, and my parents.
Right.
So I would go sit in the balcony, turn off the lights, and I would just look at the sky, and and just zone out, literally. And then my mom would just come and say, "Oh, you'll go mad. Why are you doing this?" and stuff. And then she would drag me back in. But not at all, not spiritual at all. And then my teacher at that time, who you travel around to teach courses. So what she gave me a brilliant opportunity. Every time she would come to Wellington, she would invite me to sit in her courses.
Wow.
And I didn't have to register or anything, but I would go out and promote these courses. In those days, what me and another volunteer in Wellington would do is go take printed flyers and go and put it in shops, go to festivals and hand over the flyers and all that stuff. So I would do that with them. And then they would just invite me for all of the courses. So I would just,
Wow.
by default, I would be there in all of the courses. And so then I did and then back then we didn't have a silence course teacher as well in New Zealand. So we used to invite a teacher from India to come here and take courses.
Mm.
And then I got an opportunity to do a silence course, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is even amazing. And you know what? Like in few months soon after I did the course, we got the news that Guruji was going to visit New Zealand, and
Oh,
that was
wow.
2004. He visited New Zealand,
Oh,
and I had a great time with him at that time. Yeah.
that's amazing. That's really, yeah, I get goosebumps every time we talk about meeting Gurudev. Yeah, I had the privilege to do so last year, and I had a little conversation in Gujarati with him. I'm Gujarati team. So, yeah, it's very dear to me, and that experience is truly magical, isn't it, Meena? Meeting Gurudev. No, that's good. So when did that thought of becoming a teacher arrive?
I never really wanted to be a teacher at all. Even now, I would feel at times when I'm sitting in courses, like before the course and stuff, I would always tell Satish, that's my husband, I wish you were a teacher. For me, I love sitting and attending courses. I love listening to knowledge. Like for me, it's just being there and soaking in knowledge, right? I just lose myself. That is the best thing for me. And now I understand it looking at my chart, why I am like that. Right? Like, so I never wanted to become a teacher, but there was one Rishi Vidyadharji, he's a Gujarati as well, who traveled
Oh,
from India. And he stayed with us during a silence program. And he told me, oh, at those days, we used to have TTC phase 1, 2 weeks. You come back home, and then you go back again for phase 2 after some more seva for 2 weeks. And so he told me, Meena, just go and do phase 1. You don't need to become a teacher. I know you enjoy all the Art of Living courses, and this is a course which you should not miss out on. And I was like, okay, let me go and do it. And then I went and did the course. And I came back from the course, and then I started doing more and more seva. And then I was always in touch with Rishi Vidyadharji at that time. And he would call me and he would say, go for phase 2, go for phase 2. I'd be like, no, I don't want to teach any courses I'm happy the way I am. And he would say, no, 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 go for phase two. It even went to the extent where he came to our house even before I became a teacher. He was teaching yoga courses, Shri yoga courses, if you know. And he came to our house, he called me once to his room. He showed me the manual. He said, see, this is Shri yoga course manual. Would you like one? You can take photocopy and you can practice this sequence. I was like, no, no, Rishiji, no. He said, you are going to be getting this manual soon anyway. I said, no, 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 I'm not going to become a teacher. I'm not going for this TTC. Because there used to be separate TTC for yoga and separate, there were
Mm.
all these, the structures were all different. But anyway, since he said that, in a couple of years, I did become a teacher. I did become a Sri Yoga teacher. And then
Yes.
Guruji blessed me as an art excel teacher, which I
Oh,
found very
really?
strange because
Oh,
uh, we had two separate TTC groups, one for kids training because it needs to be taught completely differently, and another training is for the adults in Bangalore ashram. I was in the group where you get trained for teaching adults, right? I was there for 14 days, and at the end of 14 days, I was told, Meena, you're going to be teaching Art Excel. From that entire group, I was the only one singled
wow.
out and said, like, you're going to teach Art Excel course. And
Mm.
I don't have kids, and it's not that I love hanging out with kids or anything. I was like, oh my God, this is a mistake. So my instant reaction was, this is a huge mistake because I was in the other teachers training program. There's no way I could be teaching, I could be made a teacher for kids. And I immediately contacted Rishi Vidyadhaji, who was in the ashram, taking phase one at that time. He told me, no, Meena, it's a blessing. There's a reason Guruji made you. So this was in 2007 or 8.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that. Before you resume, can I please ask, what was the duration, the gap between you doing your first happiness course and yeah, doing the TTC? Basically, what was the duration? How long did you volunteer before that happened? Before
Yeah,
you
so
becoming a
I did my
teacher?
very first course in April 2003. I
Hmm.
met Guruji for the first time in April 2024. And I did
20.
my phase one, I think, in 2006. And then I think 2007, I did the phase two.
Right. So there were
Mm.
few years there. On that note, Meena ji, can I please ask you a question? This is from Divya, who is also one of our Art Excel teachers in New Zealand. She's asking, how was your first experience with Guruji? What was your
My
first
first
experience?
experience with Guruji in 2004, when I first heard that Guruji was going to visit New Zealand, my first initial thought was like, I'm so grateful to this person because I feel so much more relaxed than how used to be. All I want to do is just say thanks to him. Like that was it. I didn't have anything. Like I didn't have a concept of a guru. I didn't know how to behave in front of a guru, nothing of that nature at all. So all I had was just this thought. I just want to say thanks to him. That's all I wanted. So I was in the organizing team, organizing everything for Guruji. And the day Guruji was arriving in that hotel, his car was going to pull into the car park. And I was one of the volunteers in the car park. And the car pulled through, and he got down from the car. And I looked at him and I was like, oh, I know him really well. Like, I just felt, oh, it's him. I know him. And it was like, oh, this is Guruji. I felt like I was expecting to see someone else, but I felt like, oh, it's a very familiar person I'm meeting. It was a very strange feeling, but he didn't walk towards me. He got out of the car in the car park and he decided to walk through the front door of the hotel. And then I walked again closer to the lifts, and he got into the lifts along with a couple of people, and he just waved his hand And I went into the lift with him. And the lift was very quiet. I was like, wow, why is no one talking here in this lift? And then and then we went into the hotel room, and suddenly, like, there was one woman who was taking aarti for him, and she left. The couple of people who came with Gurudev left, and it was just me and Gurudev.
Wow, blessed.
And yeah, and I was like, okay, now what? Now what? Like, what do I talk to him? And he just asked me, okay, what are the plans? What have you got lined up? I told him, oh, Guruji, this is what we have planned. This is what is going to happen, and everything. And then I told him, oh, Guruji, can I take a picture with you? And he said yes. And exactly at that time, someone arrived and they took a picture. Actually, I have the photo right here with me. If you
You're
want to see, I
welcome
can
to show.
take.
Yes, of course, we would love to see. Please go ahead.
And
Oh my
this is the
God.
picture.
Bless your heart. That is so beautiful. Oh my God. And back then you had a little long hair. Is that true? I
Yeah,
can't see.
longer hair.
Oh, beautiful. I love that innocence on your face, the happiness on your face. I can tell how happy you are. It shows on your face. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Love
so
it.
it was interesting experience. So then I came out, and then we left because there were events happening and stuff. And like, I can talk about that first experience. And then what happened was, that evening there was an event, a public event where about 300, 400 people were there. And Guruji used to give sweets or chocolates to everyone. He will ask everyone to come in a darshan line up on the stage, and he would give sweets. And there was this person from Australia, I think she had come and she told Guruji, I'll take the sweets. And it was around Easter, so they had Easter eggs. And I was one of the organizers. Then Guruji called me and told me, you stand next to me. And she said, no, Guruji, I can do it. He said, no, 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 you stand next to me. And then I stood next to Guruji for a long time, holding the Easter eggs. And the others were like, what are you doing? You have to do this and that. But I was like, Guruji wants me to stay here. And I was standing there, and there are like videos and other pictures as well. It was such a beautiful experience. And then I remember going to Gisborne, where he served food, cooked food for us.
Really?
He has
Oh,
served food for us. He's played music in the piano. At that
wow.
time, there were not many people as well at that time. Like, very few of us would be hanging around with him in certain places, even in Wellington at a
Yeah.
spot. So it was a completely different experience. We won't really have much time to cover all of that now.
No, definitely. I was keeping an eye on the time. Now, coming back to where were we? I forgot actually. We were, yeah, when you became the teacher. Now, I didn't include that in my introduction, but I can let Meena do the honors. How many Art of Living courses do you teach? There is a long list, I know, but can you please tell everyone you are a teacher of how many
No,
courses?
you know what? I don't really teach courses too, I feel, especially since I facilitate certain courses. Like, even with the Art of Silence, you saw, right? I never
Yes,
really
I did.
opened my mouth. It was just, felt I was doing tech support for Gurudev. Like, for many courses, Daniel Batten, who used to teach a lot of courses,
Yes.
right? I used to do tech
Yeah.
support behind the scenes. And I was doing exactly the same. I would not even talk for anything. I would play Guruji's video, and then I would play Guruji's meditation. All I would say is just relax, lie down, sit up, do your pranayama. That's it. So I just feel like I cannot say, like, it feels very odd for me to say, oh, I teach these courses. It just feels very unreal. Like, it just feels like, who are you? Like, you are actually just nothing. You are just there to probably just facilitate,
Oh,
right?
that's so
Like, say
sweet.
for instance, when Anish ji came for a VTP course, right? We were just there, just sort of organizing things for him. So similarly, I just feel like there is something else. There's another presence which really takes these courses.
I
Even
can.
in the Sahaj Samadhi courses that I teach, recently Ed did the course as well with few people, and their experience was just absolutely amazing. Where some of them really had like out of body experience, like sensation of levitation and all that stuff.
Wow.
And who am I to just go and say, oh, I taught these courses or anything, right?
Mm.
So it's like, yeah, so I facilitate few courses, but yeah,
This
that
is
too,
the
not
Meena
much.
ji.
I mean,
Sorry, I interrupted you. This is exactly the Meena I was
yeah,
trying to introduce. So that's exactly you.
uh,
You live that knowledge we get given in the silence program that I am nothing, I do nothing. And yeah, you're being very modest, but I can tell you, Meena, that the last silence retreat I did with you, I think I shared that with you even at the end of the fourth day, third day. You're getting a bit emotional, even I was actually, that
yeah,
I I felt Gurudev in you. Gurudev was amongst us. I felt that. There's something, yeah. I know Gurudev is in all our courses, we say that, but it just felt like I don't know how I described that day, but I said when you were talking, you had Gurudev in you. So that yeah, you have an amazing presence. The way you facilitate courses, just to be modest, and use your vocabulary is amazing. It's amazing. And I also have had the privilege to assist Meena's one of the happiness course as well, and she's equally amazing. Even yeah, just very down to earth. And yeah, sorry, excuse me, it's just my little wee doggy. Okay, give me 1 second, just
I can possibly answer questions maybe.
yes, I was gonna say that. Sorry, excuse me, she has seen a wee doggy, so she has wanting to talk to the doggy through the window. So let me just get into the questions. I've got Jai Shri. She's saying, I remember being jealous that Guruji cooked potatoes for you guys. Then, when I went to Germany, I had the opportunity to have the cauliflower soup he made.
Awesome.
Yeah. Do
And
you
she
have
has a
any?
question on top. Could you share your daily spiritual
Yes,
practices,
practices,
Meena?
please. Yes, that
The
is also
spiritual
considered.
practices keep increasing every day, I would say. So I do my yoga, I do my breathing exercises, I do my Sahaj meditation, and then I do my Sayam practices. And then since I started with Jyotish, like it's a completely different thing, right? To be able to even read someone's chart, you really need the grace of something unknown, unseen. So we have a lot of chanting that we practice on an everyday basis and stuff. So I do all of that and also do my full-time job.
Wow.
Yeah, so
What do
I
you do
don't.
currently, Mina? Would you like to share your diversity
Yeah,
of
yeah.
jobs you do? Yeah.
Yes, so besides teaching Art of Living courses, I'm also associate Jyotish consultant and a researcher with Jyotish Vastu Academy. And I'm also working in the tech sector in New Zealand. I'm contracting. I go as a consultant. I'm a solutions architect consultant for AI projects at the moment. And besides that, I'm also the founder of Tech Beyond Gender.
That is such a beautiful project, by the way. Divya is asking, what inspired you to start the podcast? What inspired you? Can you yes, actually, can you please tell us a little bit about that project? Because I'm also very passionate about empowering women, and I would love for you to talk about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So as I started, right, like when I was sharing my experience of growing up back in India, as I mentioned to you, I grew up in an environment where it was more like, okay, a girl needs to behave this way, speak this way, do this way because you're a woman and stuff. It really had a huge impact in my level of self-confidence, very much so. And that actually reflected in my early days in New Zealand and in my early jobs as well. And accidentally, for I landed up in my very first few years, in a couple of years, I landed up in a government agency in a technology division as a in the data warehousing space. So I got into the space where I was working with a bunch of middle-aged men in that team. And certain practices were just really not good. Now, thinking about it, I clearly see it was bullying. But at that time, because I had very low self-confidence, I would always internalize that experience, thinking maybe something is not right with me. Maybe I should be doing something different. Right. So I did my level best to actually see how I could fit into that work culture, to that environment. But it was just proving to be a challenge. And my manager knew something was not right. So he made sure that I had another project where I could leave specifically one guy and go to a different building to do that project. But then whenever I came back, I had to work with this guy who was just giving me a lot of nightmare. So at that time, I thought, okay, technology is not for me. I am quitting technology. So I quitted technology and I went more into the data space, and which I continued doing for a while. And then until few years ago, like I think before COVID, maybe around 2018, 2019, I had another opportunity to get back into tech. And I was like, oh my God, how is this experience going to be? Because it was going to be very much in the infrastructure space, like taking care of servers and stuff. And I was like, okay, let me give it a try anyway, because they trust that I could do it. And then I went in there. And once again, you don't really see many women in that sort of space and infrastructure space. And you're talking more with the security guys, network guys. You don't really see women in that space at all. So then what happened was I also moved into the cloud space and infrastructure, and it was even worse. It was only guys. And I remember the first project where I went in, I was given a piece of work which no one could actually solve the problem. They know that they tried it for a few years, it didn't work, and they gave me that as my first project. And I worked really hard. Like I felt like being a woman in those environment, like you have to put in so much more effort to do anything, to just get a space in the seat. Or like say, like even in meetings, right? I would be sitting there. I would completely be ignored. They would just see me, like they would consider me being invisible, even though I'm working on a specific project. They will talk to other men around the table. Or like if there's any query about the work I am doing, another guy in my team would be asked about it and he would respond to it. I felt like, oh my God, what is happening? This doesn't seem right. And prior to that, I do have research background because of my double masters and stuff. And that's when I thought, okay, I need to do something about it. And then I was doing some research about what's been done in New Zealand in that space, and not much. And that's when I decided I'm going to start a research. Like I'm going to conduct a survey and have in-depth interviews of some women, get the research findings and publish it. Right. So I did that. And it was very hard because I didn't really have much of a network or anything. So this was towards the end of 2023. I did that. And
Oh,
with great
congratulations.
difficulty, we got about 100 people, no, 200 people who took part in the research, and I published it. And that got a big hit. Like I was interviewed on TV, radio, newspaper, and that sort of piece of research got momentum. And I was contacted simultaneously by a few people, especially gender diverse professionals, saying like, hey, why don't you expand this research to include us as well? right?
Wow.
So that's when I decided I'm going to, and that was in 2024. I decided, okay, I'm going to set up a proper sort of initiative and call it Tick Beyond Gender. And that's how Tick Beyond Gender came up. And I was going to do the research later in the year, and there were a few months before that, right? And I was like thinking, okay, what am I going to do in this period? Why did I even set up this initiative? And one of the gender diverse professional who they used to live in South Island, and she contacted me and
Yeah.
she said, "Why don't you do a podcast?" And we both were going to be a host and start a
Right.
podcast. And you know what? She shared some really, really weird experiences, how people treated her, because they used to be a man in tech. And then after transitioning, they continued to be in tech. And they
Mm-hmm.
really noticed the difference, how people treated them completely differently because of gender, right? And they used to share a lot of stories around it. And
Hmm.
one day, and we both were going to do a recording as Meet the Host on a Sunday.
Right.
And we did a test recording the previous night. Everything was okay. On a Sunday, we were going to do the recording. I got a message from her saying, yeah, a message from them saying, sorry, I can't come now. Family emergency. You will see an email from me tomorrow. And the next day morning, I saw an email from her which said, sorry, Meena, I'm taking my life. I can't take this anymore.
Wow.
And
Bless
I
her.
was shocked. I was like really shocked. And that day, I was going to a different city to give a speech on my project, on my research. And I saw that email just like few hours before that. And I was like so shocked. And then I tried to get hold of their friends to say, like, this is the message I've got. Can someone go and see if something can be done? But it was all a bit too late. And
Bless her
and
soul.
they moved on. And so, meanwhile, we had organized, the both of us were going to interview a woman from Microsoft CTO for the podcast. And when this happened, I told her saying, look, this is not going to be possible for me. I don't think I can do this on my own. I'm not a podcaster. I've never done anything like this before. And I just feel so weak after what's happened to her. And she told me, no, Meena, this is the time you need to keep going. You have to carry on with this. You have to do something about it. And then I decided, okay, I'll do it. And then the momentum just kept growing. That was in June last year. I did the first record, June or July. And it'll be a 60th episode next year, January.
It's
In
so
a month,
good.
we will publish our 60th
It's so
episode.
good. You guys should subscribe the podcast on YouTube and Spotify. I will actually leave the links in the chat box. Of course, I have already subscribed and I follow it. And I'm glad to share that even Bhanuma has been as a guest. So it's a wonderful podcast, especially the way you empower women, not just through podcasts, even the interaction I have with you. Every interaction has some words which uplifts me, Meena. So it's a great thing. Yeah, you're such a modest person and an amazing human being. Keep it up.
You're so good with your words, Reena. You're so good.
No, I mean it. I mean it. No, I mean it, honestly. What a privilege.
Mm.
Meena, lastly, maybe would you like to share some guru stories? It could be in India or in New Zealand. Yeah, just tell us something. Yeah, we would love to hear guru stories. Always craving for some, so would love to hear.
Ah,
And Jayashri
what
says
story?
mystical stories, please.
I wish Satish was here logged in. He's in
Yeah.
India and he's not logging in. He said he's probably very embarrassed that I would talk about him.
Oh
Um, I
my
want to
God.
share this story about how I met him. Satish's cousin Aruna is here anyway, so she'll carry the message to Satish. So, as I mentioned to you, right, like I came from this very sort of orthodox background where they were like, okay, like my sister chose to marry someone she liked, and then soon after that, there was this whole thing about Meena, it's you next. We are definitely going to get arranged marriage for you and all that stuff at that time. And I was pretty much like mentally sort of prepared for it and stuff. But you know what? It just didn't feel right because I became a vegetarian as a child, like even before Art of Living and stuff. Like when my family, everyone ate meat. But for some reason, I think when I was about 14 or something, I just gradually stopped eating meat and I was like almost vegan by the time I was 18, 18, 19. So I was an odd person out as well. And the guys, they were picking me and stuff. They were like, my parents are like, no, you have to go and cook meat. This is how the tradition works and all that stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this just doesn't sound right. And especially after doing all the breathing exercises, meditation and stuff, it just didn't feel right at all. Right? So what happened was, interestingly, in 2004, April, that's when I met Guruji for the first time in New Zealand. And later in the year, went to India and I went to a satsang in Kerala to meet Gurudev. So in that satsang, I think there were about, in Indian terms, about about what, like 2 lakh people or something. Okay, 2 lakh is how much? It would be like 200,000 people, right?
Wow.
So about 200,000 people were there. And for internationals, we had an opportunity to sit right by the stage where Gurudev was. That was in end of 2004. And there was live Kriya and everything, and there was satsang at the end. My parents were also there with me at that time. And uh, in that satsang, Guruji told something very interesting. He said, today, anything that you wish for, your wish will be granted now. Yeah, I've never heard him say that since. Like I go to see Guruji quite a bit, but I've never heard him say that. That was the first time I heard him say. He said, anything that you ask for, your wish will be granted now. So you ask for it now. Don't ask for something very small. Don't say, oh, I want a auto to soon after the satsang, I want to take a bus, I should get a bus. Don't ask for anything small. Ask for something really big. And I was like thinking, what should I ask? What should I ask? And then I thought, I want to be in this path for the rest of my life. And
Wow.
thought, let me just ask for something very big. At that point in time, it just felt like very unreal that it might even happen. I said, okay, I want to be in this path for the rest of my life, and I want to find someone who will support me in this path for the rest of my life. Right? So
Wow.
that was my wish. And it was very interesting. Soon after that satsang, like a month later, Guruji was in Bangalore ashram. He was taking a silence course, and I went to attend that silence course. At the end of it, there were only 100 people doing silence course with Gurudev at that time. End of 2004, December 2004. And Guruji met everyone individually. And there were few people who Guruji said, oh, if you want to stay back, you can stay back. So I went to Guruji and said, okay, Guruji, I want to move to the ashram. He said, no, go back to New Zealand. I said, no, I can move to somewhere else in Bangalore and maybe work here. He said, no, go back to New Zealand, he said. I was so disappointed. I was like, oh my gosh, everyone else was given the privilege, but not me. And then I came back to New Zealand after the holiday in Jan 2005. And I had a message from my friend saying, hey, there are these bunch of guys from Mumbai who are here and I have to take them around. I'm stuck with them. Can you please join me? I'm meeting one guy in Tipapa. You will actually like him. He's very funny as well. And I went, and that was the first time I met Satish. And I had no plans that I would be marrying someone like Satish at that point in time at all, because we have like completely different personalities too.
Yes.
Uh, but you know what? That was the best thing that happened. And 2006, we got married. And like before we got married, he did the course. He did the Art of Living course. And he did the course first thing. And he came back to me and said, Meena, this course is for people who are depressed, not for people like me, he said. And then since then, we've been married. He supports me so much. It's just absolutely not possible to do what I'm doing without his support, including my work with Tech Beyond Gender, the podcast and stuff, right? He
Yeah.
spends so much time editing the videos. He does so much work behind the scenes. He's so busy at his
Yeah.
work, but he will still make time. And there
Yeah.
are times when I'll be like, even with my Jyotish studies and everything, I'll just be in my own zone, not even thinking about anything. But he will take care of everything else as if he has nothing to do. I know he's busy as well, but he'll be like, no, 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 you just carry on doing what you're doing. If I'm teaching courses, he will not disturb me at all. It's just like
Mm,
amazing. So for me, I just feel that this whole life has just been an absolute uh, gift from the master.
it's
So,
amazing.
so this is just one story, and there are like so many other stories, and I'm
Maybe we can
mindful
do
of the.
part two, Meena, because I know you have really, really beautiful stories. And with Satish, yeah, definitely I agree. I mean, you are his wife, but even with me, one day I had an IT issue. It was like 9 or 9:30, and I was like, I'm in a dance class, so I can't reach home before this time. He's like, Reena, okay,
Mm.
I'll make it work. And I still remember he's very down to earth, and you make a perfect couple, of course, blessed by Gurudev. And I wish you all the best for your life. But it's amazing. And lastly, Meena, can you talk a little bit about your Jyotish thing? Like how did that came into your life? What yeah, why did that interest you? And are you currently a consultant? Can people do consultation with you? Can you tell us a little bit about it, please?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Jyotish actually came into my life when I was sort of really getting more into the knowledge, right? I didn't really understand the depth of this knowledge until I actually started doing the program myself. I started my Jyotish journey in 2023. And wow, oh my gosh, this knowledge has really changed my life. You know, like certain things that you talk about, right? Like the grahas, like the planetary influences and stuff. Now, these planets are not just objects which are just floating in the sky, right? Like how Guruji, or like when we, even in Ashtavakra Gita or Yoga Vashishta, they talk about existence and how unreal everything is. And Guruji also talks about it in Ashtavakra Gita, like about five senses. Everything is just five elements. And he says everything is made up of five elements. Our senses are made of five elements. The body is made of five elements. Everything that we perceive is made of five elements. And how the interactions of these five elements can have an impact on our mind, right? Which is also made up of five elements, because it's all nothing but just five elements. Everything has an impact on everything else. And having a knowledge of Jyotish really helps you become aware of your own behavior and also about everything that surrounds you in a more subtle manner. So like I used to always think, oh, why am I behaving this way? Like, why can I not be like someone else? Why can I not be like Reena doing powerlifting? Or like this is something that could possibly come right in the mind. But learning Jyotish, you sort of really understand, wow, how unique each one of us are, and how uh, all our journeys are different, right? So it doesn't matter who you are, what you do. You are born for a specific reason, and you have come to this existence for a specific reason. And just by understanding that, you become so much more settled and you sort of accept your own life, you accept your own journey. And I feel that everyone in every family, there needs to be someone who knows Jyotish,
Wow.
right? So to understand what is happening, the play and the interplay. So Jyotish is not fatalistic at all in any manner. By
Okay.
understanding Jyotish, you sort of know where your strengths and weaknesses are. So, and you can actually then start to think about the opportunities which you can make use of. And Jyotish Vastu Academy, you have access to these brilliant Jyotish specialists. They've been doing research in the space for like decades together. And this knowledge, like I've bought several books, but then every time you spend talking to these people or listening to these lectures over and over again, you feel like this was not captured in any of these books. Because this is a knowledge where the best of the best share and they have it with them, right? And then they make it accessible to all of us. So my request to everyone would be like, just try it out. Just even try one semester, right?
Okay.
Trying the Jyotish Vastu Academy, the courses, because this will shift your entire perspective of life altogether.
That's amazing. So profound. Thank you, Meena. Yeah,
Thank you, Meena.
the knowledge you carry within you is just amazing. I don't know how you do it all, but it was lovely having you, and maybe we look forward to doing part two for more stories.